It's not that we're doing it all wrong, it's just that we're thinking about it wrong. And I kid you not when I'm telling you that I literally had my brain rewired after the conversations, because honestly, it's not that we're lacking the skills or we're not lacking what it takes to actually make it. We're just lacking the confidence or even the audacity to go after it in the first place. So my first conversation was actually with a billionaire, not a millionaire, and it was that of being an employee versus being a business owner. So majority of the conversation when it comes to being an employee or owning your own business and becoming an entrepreneur is which one is better, which one has more advantages, is being a brand owner, like a business owner, better than actually being an employee, is that the dream, and so on and so forth. And what I realized after that conversation is that it has nothing to do with which one has more advantages or like which one is better, and everything to do with what is it that you want to do and what are the attributes that we are assigning to each of those things or like states. Let me be more clear. So most of the people, when they're thinking, okay, should I start my own business or should I be an employee, their actual like dilemma in their heads is employment equals security, some sort of safety, and then being a business owner and starting something of your own equals taking risks and a lot of unpredictability, and what if this happens and what if that happens, and so on and so forth. And when I expressed that dilemma to the person I was actually talking to, he replied to me that if your ultimate goal is safety and security, then the best place to be is prison. So he basically explained that when you are in prison, you know exactly what time you're going to eat, what is it that you're going to eat, what time you're going to bed, what time you're waking up, what time you're taking a shower, and so on and so forth. And so it's so predictable and secure that there's no element of surprise in your routine and what's going to happen in like 2 weeks or 1 month or 1 year, and so on and so forth. And I know a lot of people are going to say, okay, this is a little bit extreme and I cannot really relate to that. And I completely understand that. But the idea wasn't that it's bad to look for, a certain amount of security when it comes to choosing your career and choosing whether you want to work for someone or you want to start your own business. But more so that being a free human being comes with some level of, passion and excitement to explore life and explore your own, capabilities. And so when you're trying to choose if you're going to have your own business or if you're going to work for someone, that decision shouldn't be based on the dilemma of risk versus security, but more so on what is it that you want to do, what is it that you thrive in, and which one allows you to better unfold your passion and your capabilities. So he then further elaborated on the whole, business owning or being an employee dilemma. And he said that a trap when it comes to, becoming an employee is that a lot of times people who choose to become employees for very valid reasons, they climb the corporate ladder and then they end up becoming, the COO or someone that is like in the top management and is really close to the founder or the owner of the business. And they end up thinking at the end that they themselves could have been the founder or the owner of the company. And he said he characterized this phenomenon as quite sad because he said it's either one of two cases. One, either it's true, they could have been the owner or the founder, which in that case, why couldn't you bet on yourself? Or two, it's not true. And in that case, it's sad because it's just a hurt ego that is trying, to make up for lack of skills or lack of effort. And in his opinions, these types of people cannot be respected. He also told me that when it comes to choosing to start your own business or becoming a business owner, he said that you should never start a business unless you have an exit strategy, meaning unless you have a solid plan on how you're going to grow the business in order to eventually sell it. And he said that if you don't have an exit strategy, you should not start a business because that will be a waste of time. Now, please pay attention. This doesn't mean that if you cannot come up with an exit plan or like an exit strategy, it is absolutely useless to get into business building, because in any case, getting into the whole business building thing, whether you do it full time or whether you do it as a side hustle, is going to give you an incredibly high leverage skill set that you're going to find very useful in many different setups in your life. But his point was mostly about, really big corporations, like mega profitable business building. And he basically explained that when you want to get into big business or like big money, everything in the process of business building, from what is your product or your service, to who is your market, who are you talking to how long you think it's going to take you to scale the company to a certain evaluation or to a certain amount of people, all the way to who do you want to eventually sell the business to, should be something that you should think about in advance, as in before you put any money on that idea or on that business. Otherwise, at the end, it's going to be a complete loss of time, and most of the times he said it's also going to be a complete loss of money. So he said every time you start a business, if you really want to be in with like the big boys, you should always have an exit strategy, which means when am I selling, to whom am I selling, and for how much. Advice number 2, I literally think is the struggle of our generation, and is, and I quote, stick to the plan, do only that, be thankful, and continue to do that until things happen. Side note, I just find it extremely funny or like, unexpected how every single person I talked to, they gave me advice that had to do with mindset, and not even one of them gave me some sort of advice that was like, oh, you should specifically be in that industry in order to be successful or make money, or you should be going after that specific career path in order to be successful or make money, or you should wake up at 4 in the morning, every single day and take a cold shower and have this morning routine in order to become successful, or you need to, be specifically in AI or e-commerce, or I don't know what's the next big thing is going to be in order to be successful. Every single thing that they told me had something to do with how we think about things and nothing to do with, hard skills or capital. Okay, side note closed. So going back to that whole stick to the plan advice. So he basically explained to me that one of the reasons that most people don't end up seeing success in their lives is because they don't have the discipline to stick to the plan and keep doing things long enough in order to see the results they want to see and in order to experience success. And he explained to me that one of the reasons that people don't manage to do that is because of lack of gratefulness. And the way that he defined gratefulness is not the usual type of gratefulness that we say, okay, you should be grateful for your health and you should be grateful for your family, even though you should totally be grateful for those things. But he explained to me that the way he sees gratefulness is being grateful towards the idea. And as he was explaining, I was like, wait, what? What's that supposed to mean? And in case you're also confused, and I'm not the only one, he basically explained to me that, which is true, you're gonna see, he has a point, that when we come up with a business idea, what moves the needle forward in the very beginning is our passion for the idea, and how, we end up thinking something along the lines of, oh my God, how cool is that? How cool is that idea? It's totally gonna work, or I'm so smart for coming up with that idea, or something along those lines. The problem is that as time passes by, we start to focus more on every single problem that comes with business building, and we lose some of that initial gratitude towards the idea because, we keep working, we keep doing things, and we don't yet see the results that we want to see. So in his viewpoint, the solution is not to spend more time on, pushing for results and try to have better results and work more and do more, because that's going to increase the output and so on and so forth. But in his viewpoint, the best thing to do is to stick to the plan, do what we said we were going to do, and then, use the rest of the time, or use the rest of the energy to reaffirm our belief to the idea, and just focus on being grateful that we get to work on that amazing idea. So basically, to keep giving ourselves, a round of applause, and keep hyping ourselves up about the idea, and be grateful that we came with that plan and that we get to actually try it and see how that's going to go. And to be honest, I guess his point makes sense on so many levels, because you cannot be 100% productive or give it everything when you no longer, believe in the idea 100%, or you're no longer convinced that what you're doing is going to eventually work and is going to get you where you want to get. So I guess it totally makes sense that your number one priority, after doing the work, is to keep hyping yourself up and to reaffirm your belief towards the things that you're doing. Because, side note, he didn't say that, but I say that. I think it also really, helps also with your self-concept and with what you identify and how you see yourself, which having a really positive self-concept always helps when you're trying to build something, or, and build something, I don't just mean business-wise, but I mean when you're trying to build your dream life and do the things that you actually want to do. He also said that, on the other hand, there are also some people, that have the problem of like pushing, like they just keep doing the things, they stick to the plan, okay, they go for it, and then when they sense that they are close to achievement, this is the point that they actually let things go. And that's also very dangerous, because obviously if you let things go just before making it, you're actually not going to make it, even though your previous performance was very positive. And so he said that sticking to the plan is the most important thing, whether things go bad or whether things go well. And he even said that I think sticking to the plan is the most important thing when things go bad, but most importantly, when things go well. Advice number 3 is for the manifestation girlies. And the person told me, and I quote, "The universe delivers accordingly. You just have to be specific enough." I totally felt that. So basically, he explained to me that most of us, like most people, have very big goals, like very big dreams, but also they're very broad and very non-specific, which leaves too much room for interpretation in terms of what it is specifically that we want to do, where is specifically that we want to go, and what is going to be the next step. And he also said that when something is too broad and too non-specific, it also doesn't invite any specific action. And he gave me a very, a very funny example. He said that if you were to send an email to Amazon and you were writing on that email, "Hello, if you ever have any excess product and you want to send me some, please send me something someday." He said there is absolutely no way Amazon is going to send you any product anytime soon. But he said, if you were to send an email and say, "I would like a pair of green trousers, medium size, to be delivered to this address by the end of next week," your chances of actually having Amazon to deliver that product to you just increased exponentially, simply because you increase the specificity of the demand. So similarly, in your life, if you say, for example, that the goal is to make more money this year, that goal is so broad and so non-specific that it doesn't invite any sort of action from your side or anybody else's side. On the other hand, if you were to say, okay, I want to make $10,000 in the next 2 months, then that sort of demand, that sort of goal is so specific in terms of the amount of money you want to make and the timeline you give yourself to do that, that your brain is going to start coming up with ideas to specifically achieve that goal. And it is also going to start to identify any sort of opportunity that can lead you to that goal and to that goal only. He also told me that apart from the whole like too broad, too non-specific mistake, a lot of people make the mistake of setting goals that are too small, mostly out of fear of not achieving the big goal. But he said that this is the most counterproductive thing that you could ever do, because small goals mean small results and big goals mean big results, even if the results are not the maximum kind of break results. Next up, we have advice I lost counting, but that is never confuse challenge with an opportunity. And I think that is very similar to something that I've personally read in many different self-development books. And it's that some people see problems everywhere and some people see opportunities everywhere. So basically, what we tend to do is that we tend to forget that every single successful business that exists nowadays is actually a business that was created in response to a problem. Every single innovative thing that we have achieved as humankind was and is in response to a problem. And even to the most basic level, I think we also forget that personal growth comes from hardship and dealing with things, not from, sitting comfortably and happily in a situation, even though it's amazing. But we tend to forget that. And so we tend to, when we find ourselves in a situation where, there's a lot of adversity or like hardship, a lot of times, because we have a lot of negative feelings and we look at the situation from a sentimental point of view, we fail to identify that in most situations that we consider as adversities or like tragedies in our lives, there is actually an opportunity. And we fail to see that because we focus too much on the sentimental side of things instead of the logical side of things that could indicate that there is an opportunity to either learn something or do something. Now, I obviously know that this is easier said than done, but I think it's worth putting it into perspective. And next time you find yourself in some sort of adversity or facing some sort of problems, I think it is worth asking yourself, one of those three questions, like A, can I learn something from this experience that will significantly improve my quality of life in the future? B, can I solve the problem for myself or for the people that will encounter it in the future? And C, is this sort of problem or adversity an opportunity for redirection to a more advantageous condition? And I think an example that comes to mind personally for that kind of mindset is that I was recently scrolling on LinkedIn and I saw this post of a 20-year-old girl who, if I'm not mistaken, she was an engineer, but it doesn't matter. And she was explaining basically that after years of working, like 3 or 4 years of working, she has decided to quit her job with no alternative plan, no plan to go into some sort of other employment or starting a business or whatever anytime soon. And the reason why she was quitting her job is because she felt like the past few years she has lost her spark and her light, and her work has consumed all that she is. And so she finished her post by saying, I know that a lot of people are going to read this post and they're going to say that I'm creating a series of unnecessary problems for myself, but I only see a sea of opportunities. And I think that's just the simplest way to look into situations and look into problems and look into adversity. AKA, there are always two ways looking into things, and it's always, almost always, mostly what we make out of a situation rather than what the situation it is per se. And if after all of this advice you still feel like you need some extra help in terms of how to move forward, how to change your mindset that eventually forms your habits and the way you think about things, then I definitely recommend you to watch this video right here, which I believe is going to be very, very helpful. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something, and if you did, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video.